did the choreography myself. Hey honey, have you gained some weight in your rear end? The dress you wear reminds me of my old girlfriend. And where'd you get those shoes? I think they're pretty lame. Would you stop talking, cause I'm trying to watch the game? If you're a man who wants to live a long and happy life, these are the things you don't say to your wife. I planned a hunting trip next week on your birthday. I didn't ask you, but I knew it'd be okay. Go make some dinner while I watch this fishing show. I taped it over our old wedding video. If you're a man who've done that, a long and happy life, these are the things you don't say to your wife. Solo. Okay. Your cooking is okay, but not like mother makes. The diamond in the ring I bought you is a fake. Your eyes look puffy, dear. Are you feeling ill? Happy anniversary, I bought you a treadmill. If you're a man who wants to live a long and happy life, that too. These are the things you don't say to your wife. If you're a man who doesn't want to get killed with a knife, these are the things you don't say to your wife.
Guys, welcome out to Hot Sexy Marriage Week 1. It's going to be an awkward series. It's going to be a fun series. It's going to be an awesome series. Whether you're single or you've had a divorce or you're in a marriage that may be kind of a little dull and numb at this point, it's going to be a lot of fun, and so we're looking forward to it. We're going to be incredibly candid over the next couple of weeks, which is going to be awkward for us, and so deal with it because we're human too. So anyways, it's going to be awesome, so I'm excited about it. We actually, we just celebrated 8 years of marriage. Sweet, I'm glad you guys cheered because I was going to pause and it was going to be awkward and be like, okay, so we're like on 40. I mean, what? Okay, it's big for us, okay? And so now we just celebrated 8 years and it was incredible. And I think at some point, you know, when you celebrate like anniversaries or whatever, you kind of take these like flashbacks of your marriage, like these highlight cliff notes, and you really try to, you remember the funny things and you remember the awesome things, but you remember the bad things even more. And so, but it was crazy. And if you have been, you know, over 6 years old, you know that men are completely different than women, and women are completely different than men. And but oftentimes, it takes a lifetime to learn to navigate through that differences. And so, but let me give you a little illustration of what this looks like. Because for guys, you know, we find the girl, the awesome, oh yeah, hey girl, how you doing? Let's do this thing forever. And so you get down on one knee, you propose, and it's awesome. And then something crazy happens for a girl. Like guys, we're done. Like we did, all right, sweet. We tell our friends, we're getting high fives. Girls, like they go into overdrive because. No, seriously, because girls, this is not just like, sweet, she said yes, let's do this. No, for girls, like, this has been day one, like, from little ages, watching princess movies and everything, like, they've been planning their marriage forever. Like, it's gotta be perfect, gotta be the perfect guy, gotta be a perfect engagement, gotta be the perfect this, gotta be the perfect that. And so the minute that, this moment that they've been waiting for forever, where the guy gets down on his hands and knees, or whatever that looks like for you and your marriage, whatever that looks like, the girl for her is like, wow, let's do this. And so she's been waiting to send that mass text out. She's been waiting to view all of those Pinterest things that she's been pinning on her Facebook and on her little Pinterest page. And so she's calling up her girl. She's sending out text messages. He did it. It's time, girl. Put the uniform on. It's time to get this thing rolling. Woo! And so that's what it's like for a girl. And so they're running around trying to find the right gowns. They're trying all the Pinterest gowns on. They're trying all the locations out. They're trying all the food out. They're trying to do all these different things. And the guy's like just chilling. What's up? And so, but this is so important and so huge for a girl, and then it comes like the wedding day, and the girl the whole time is like, she's like, oh man, that, you know what, oh my gosh, the wedding cake turned out incredible. The little mannequin thing on top of the wedding cake, kind of creepy, probably should have gone with the other one. I can't believe Susan was late to the wedding. She's always late. I told her, girl, you can't be late. This is the time the wedding starts. And so, in this whole time, she's like picking through all this stuff in her mind, and then she walks down the aisle, which is like the epitome of the moment, and she wants to know, is my man looking? Mm-hmm. Oh, I want to see I want to see how he looks whenever like he sees me for the first time. And so there's this whole process, and there's so much pressure even built up in this moment. And they walk down the aisle, and it's incredible, and it's crazy, and it's emotional, and it's fun. And my dad actually did our wedding, and so he couldn't keep it together. That's why we cried. I mean, it was only him. I mean, he's like my dad. I'm his youngest, you know. And so anyways, so there they are, they're going through the whole wedding process, and she walks down there and looking eye to eye finally, and she's like, oh my gosh, he's incredible, he's awesome, and this is so everything that I wanted it to be. This is amazing. And so there the preacher is, or the pastor, the priest, whoever did your ceremony, you know, he's talking, and you have no idea what he's even saying, and you're just like, dang, she looked good. And so this whole process is going on, and inevitably, somehow, somewhere within this whole talk, there's this phrase that sounds really cute and really spiritual and really fun to say, and sometimes we even make little posters about it, but it's this, that the two shall become one flesh. Awesome, super spiritual, really fun to say, but when you think of the implications of that, it's insanely crazy. Because here's the deal, like I have my own particular way of how I was grown up. You know, I have my own perspectives of what marriage looks like. I went through marriage counseling, we did all that and stuff, but there are different roles that I've seen played out through my parents' life, and I'm one person. I'm one of these two people coming together, and she's had her own little set of ideals, the way she's been brought up, the way she navigates through things, the way she experiences things, her expectations of marriage, what that looks like, and it's crazy. And so we have this whole thing where these two people, they come together, and they form, and they complete, and they're going to bring one together. And this is insane. You're trying to like throw all of these together, and it's like, really? Like, we like this statement? We're like, this is awesome. No, it's not. It's horrible, and it stinks, and it's frustrating, and it's hard. And this whole concept of two becoming one is an incredibly tough moment for marriage. Because no one tells you about that. You're like, oh yeah, we get to go out. The guy, I mean, let's be honest. The guy the whole time is thinking, one more hour. The ceremony's almost over, you know, one more hour. And so the girl is like, okay, this is awesome. This is incredible. Honeymoon phase comes on. This is amazing. You get back to reality, and you realize, dude, she's crazy, or he is insane. And you're like, all of a sudden, you have this immense amount of conflict that's going on that you haven't even, no one told me about this. I mean, I thought that there would be things, but man, that's just over there, you know. And so, but one of the things that you and I have to realize is that hot and sexy marriages are not marriages devoid of conflict. They're not. Contrary to what society has told us, contrary to what the movies tell us, contrary to all of that, there's absolutely going to be conflict in our marriages. And hot, sexy marriages are not marriages without conflict. Hot, sexy marriages are marriages that learn to leverage and navigate through conflict effectively and efficiently. And my wife is actually really great at this, kind of. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you guys some insight of how insane our life was, and we're pastors, and so you can be like, there's hope for me. And so anyways, she's going to tell a story real quick. This is a true story. None of this is prefabricated or made up. We didn't find this on the internet. And so this is legit, true, like crazy, awesome story. And so this is what we're going to be talking about. Two becoming one. That's the title of today's message. Hot, sexy marriages. Our marriages are devoid of conflict. They're marriages that learn to leverage and navigate through conflict. And what we're going to be talking about today. So she's going to take it away. We're going to talk about point one. I'm actually going to tell you what they are real quick. Point one is resolve conflict. Point two is sacrifice and serve, and point three is keep Christ in the center. And so we're going to be telling stories, and some of you guys will be like, I completely missed that point. So we're going to give them to you right out front. Resolve conflict, sacrifice and serve, and keep Christ in the center. And resolve conflict is where we're going to be at right now for the next couple moments.
Okay, so when he said, I'm a little crazy, I might actually be a lot crazy. So when we first got married, this had to have been like the first month we're married, and I like to confront when I'm feeling hurt, or when I'm feeling like someone wronged me, or when I may have made a mistake. So we were in the bedroom, and I was like, all right, it's nighttime. We got to get this taken care of before we go to sleep. You know, you've heard the saying where you don't, what is that saying? Where you don't go to bed angry.
Angry.
That's right.
By nighttime, she means 2 a.m. Preface. There's 8 hours of nighttime. Just wanted to get this clear. 2 a.m. and action.
So I am, pouring my heart out to him, and I'm like, tell him all this stuff, and he's responding, but he's not responding the way that I'm wanting to, and I am just getting angrier and angrier and angrier, and I'm like, what is he doing? Why is he not talking to me the way I want him to talk to me?
Did I say it was 2 a.m? Okay, good.
So I start hitting him with my pillow. because I'm really frustrated and I just have all this anger. So I decided to start hitting him with my pillow, and then I run out of the room crying. And
Did I mention it was 2 o'clock in the morning?
so,
Okay.
so I might be a little manipulative. So I ran out of the room crying, thinking that he would come chasing after me and console me and say, I'm so sorry, what did I do wrong? Yeah, that did not happen. He did not come after me at all. Anytime I run off crying, he never comes after me. It does not work right. So I came going back in there, angrier, and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, what just happened?
Did I mention
being-
it was 2 o'clock in the morning? I'm asleep. I have no idea. She's talking. Apparently I talk in my sleep and respond in my sleep. Who knew? Did not know. No clue what's going on.
He was
All I
asleep
know is
the
I
whole
woke
time.
up abruptly with the pillow across my face and the door being slammed. No clue. No idea what's even going on in this moment.
So, yeah, he was asleep. That is my crazy story within the first month of our marriage. Maybe within the first week. Because it was probably about him leaving stuff laying around the house, because I like stuff neat.
It may have been
He
the first
doesn't.
day. I don't even know. No, I'm just kidding. And so, so there was a sense of a bit of conflict going on. To this day, I don't even remember what it was about, because it was just 2 in the morning. I was asleep. And so, but anyways, one of the things that is absolutely so important in the midst of conflict is I'm not good with dealing with conflict. Me, I'm just like, I'll just push it down. I'll deal with it internally. I got this. It's not even worth the fight. I'm not good at it. I'm not at all. And she's really good at it, bringing it out. And but one of the things that I've had to realize in my own life, and that we've got to realize, is that, man, if you do not deal with conflict and you keep pressing it down and pushing it down and pushing it down and pushing it down and never having that confrontation that brings about a resolution, there's going to be an ultimately, as you keep pushing it down year after year, time after time, frustrating moment after frustrating moment, you will eventually find yourself in that moment where you know what, I'm done, and you drop the D word. I'm done. I want a divorce. I'm done. And it's all because we never dealt with conflict. And one of the points that we have down here is that conflict has to come about. There has to be a confrontation. Conflict has to move into confrontation so that there can be a resolution. Absolutely does have to be. Because if there's not ever a resolution, then it's just going to continue to stir. It's just going to continue to build. It's just going to continue to get frustration. There's just going to continue to get worse and worse and worse if it's never resolved in the midst of it. And let's be honest with it. Let's just be completely real with it. You want to resolve this, guys. Guys. You want to resolve this, because there's nothing like taking all of this emotion of frustration and dealing with the whole thing and then having makeup sex, because it's incredible. Because you have all these emotions, and then, like, trust me, just deal with it. So anyways, you're like, you can't say that. I did. And so it's going to be like this it's going to be fun. And so, anyways, tell them a little bit about the 3 ways that you kind of dealt with the conflict.
Okay, so
How
we
you
were
deal with
talking, and I think we kind of both view conflict different ways. I'm an attacker. I put those, fighting gloves on, and I'm ready to attack. I'm like, all right, we are taking care of this. And so that's what it started out as. So he would do something, and he'd like walk in the door, and I'd have this list. I'd be like, you didn't do this, and this is why I'm upset, because I'm confronting him saying, hey.
Guys, stop looking at your wives.
I'm confronting him saying, hey, this is what you did wrong, and this is not okay. I'm upset. So I attacked, and I just spewed all over him, or just throw up all over him. And so what he would do is he would retreat. That's the second one. He would retreat, and he did it differently than the way that I have it written down. But basically, retreating is where you keep all those emotions inside and you try to deal with it, but you're really not dealing with it. You're just stuffing it. You just keep putting it in there, and then eventually there's going to be this big explosion. But the way that he retreats is he goes and he walks and he prays and he takes care of it. But for me, that was an issue, because I'm like, we never had that conversation that said, hey, everything's okay. So if we never had that conversation to talk through our problems, he would retreat and he would, work it out, but he wouldn't tell me it was okay. So I'd still be on attack mode. And then the third final one is to surrender. And this is what we both have learned how to do, is to just, even if I'm angry or upset, or he's angry or upset, I can't wait for him to come and apologize, because it's probably not going to happen. It's just.
Let's stop right there, because I'm rarely wrong, okay? I mean, let's just get no.
So I learned that really quick, that attacking doesn't work. He retreats, he takes care of it, and we don't have that conversation. So I learned really quick that if we're going to have the conversation, I just need to go and apologize. I just need to, even if I'm in the right, which I probably was. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I was mostly wrong. No, I would go and apologize and I'd say, hey, look, I am sorry that I'm a crazy person, because I am, and let's just deal this. This is why I'm feeling this way. I had to learn to do it not in an attacking way. I had to learn to say, hey, these are my feelings, and I know that you didn't mean to do this. I know that you didn't mean to say this way to me, but when you said this, it brought up these emotions because of this that I went through. And so when we explained it that way, we were able to have a correct confrontation where we were actually working through it. And so he was able to adjust his actions. Well, hey, I wasn't wrong, but that makes sense that she freaked out and had that response because of that happened. So when we explained our feelings and we didn't play the blaming game, that's the worst thing to do.
I kind of want to stop on there for a second, because it is the two. You're taking two people and you're forming them into one. And here's the deal: like we said just a second ago, that I have an entire different perspective and view on life, and she has an entire different perspective and view on life. My perspective and my emotions and how I feel in the midst of a confrontation, they're very real. They're very real to me, and how she feels in that moment, they're very real to her. And so for us to say, well, you're wrong, you can't be right in the middle of that, and for me to attack that, or for her to attack me, what you're saying in the middle of that moment is that your feelings and your emotions aren't valid. And what you feel is stupid because you're not even looking at it from the right thing. And so whenever we find ourselves in conflict, because you're going to have conflict, we absolutely will. But one of the ways that is so important to navigating through that is really taking a step back and hearing her side of it, hearing your spouse's side of it, and realizing that, okay, there is a bigger picture than just my picture. There's two sides to a coin. There's two feelings. There's two emotions that are going on here right now. Let me take a step back and see how she's responding and viewing in the middle of this. Let me see it from her perspective. Let me see it from his perspective. And let's look at it from a sobering moment instead of, I'm going to win. It's going to be how I want it to be. And I'm going to get the W for this. And that's just the way it's going to be. And if we always have that mentality of I'm right and you're not right, then, man, it's just going to be horrible. It's going to be frustrating. There's never, ever going to be a moment where you move from conflict to confrontation to resolution, because there's just going to be a shutting down and a running and a retreating. And so it's important to really realize that, number one, your emotions that your spouse has are just as valid as what you have. And you need to understand that how they see things is very valid and very real. Is it right? Maybe not, but it is very valid and very real. So for them in that moment, it is absolutely real, because they're like, this is all that I see in the midst of this moment. And so if at all possible, in the midst of a confrontation, go from the conflict, start the confrontation, talk about it. And if it's not getting resolved, and if it's getting worse and it's getting heated, man, take a pause, take a break, and say, you know what? Let's just take a step back from this for a little bit. Let's not even talk about it. Let's drop it. Let's put pause on this thing. Let's pause the controller. Let's step back, and let's just let's do something away from this whole argument, this whole frustration, this whole situation that we're going through. Let's just get away from that, because if we're not careful, we're going to say things that we don't mean to say in ways that we don't mean to say them. It's going to hurt you in ways that we can't even begin to imagine. And so take a pause, man. Take a break and step back from it, and then say, hey, you know what? In an hour, you go take your walk, okay? I'm going to go clean something, because that's what girls do when they get mad. I'm just going to clean something. I'm going to clean the whole house. Sweet. So sometimes I'll make her mad just so she'll – no, I'm just kidding. But anyways, man, take that pause. Take that break and take a step back and seriously, legitimately try to see it from your spouse's perspective, because that's huge. Because if the two are becoming one, then, there's got to be that understanding of, you know what, I want to honor my spouse in the midst of this moment, and that's very important with conflict, because I think sometimes we have this view in our mind and that we can't have conflict without yelling. which is an absolute lie. But because maybe sometimes you grow up, well, the louder the person yelled, that person won. And so for me, I'm going to step into conflict in a relationship yelling. And that's not ever going to be helpful in the situation, because you're not even thinking soberly. You're honestly really kind of navigating and having a situation and dealing with the conflict just out of just rage, and I'm going to win. And even out of selfishness, it's I'm right, and I'm going to raise my voice until you understand that I'm right, girl or boy. and so that's oftentimes how it is. And so when we find ourselves in conflict, moving into confrontation, the absolute goal in the middle of that moment is honor, because this is your spouse. This is not someone that you're fighting against. The kids are who you fight against. This is who you honor. No, I'm just kidding. But this is seriously. But this is your spouse, man. In the midst of that, it needs to be navigated through confrontation, and conflict need to be absolutely navigated through the lens of honor and through the lens of respect, because it's your spouse. It's the person that you've chose to live with forever. And I wrote something down here that if you are always critical, your marriage will be in critical condition. If you have a critical spirit, your marriage will be in critical condition. And so if you're always nitpicking, it's always you, always critical of your spouse, then your marriage will find itself in critical condition. And then ultimately, if that's not resolved, if these action steps aren't taken of honor and respect and valuing your opinion and your emotions, you're just going to quit. I'm done. And so that's kind of some things that we've learned and we're still learning. Because man, we got to be completely honest, man. We have emotions, and we have good days, we have bad days. You have days when you can be frustrated at work, and then the smallest thing can be like, "Are you kidding me? What in the world is wrong with you? What were you thinking?" And you're like, "Whoa, I could have responded a little differently in the middle of that moment. She just said good morning and I love you." No, I'm just kidding. And so that's really huge. So number one, hot, sexy marriages are not devoid of conflict. Hot, sexy marriages learn how to navigate through those conflicts, and they grow stronger and better in the midst of those conflicts. And number two, and this is incredibly huge. I would venture to say that if we could get this one and then the next one, well, actually this whole message right here, I could venture to say that if we could get this, our marriages would be absolutely stinking phenomenal. And number two is sacrifice and serve. And if you want to throw that scripture up real quick, Ephesians 5:22-28. I usually pass out Bibles, but I read this in the Message Bible this week, and I saw it, and I was like, dude, this is it. We got to read it through this. And so here we go. Wives, understand and support your husbands in ways that show your support for Christ. The husband provides leadership to his wife the way Christ does to the church, not by domineering, but by cherishing. So many times in the past, it's been domination from men. It's wife, submit to me. It's my game. It's my thing. You submit to me. You do what I say. And this is not saying that at all. Don't do it by domineering, but by cherishing your spouse. So just as the church submits to Christ, as he exercises such leadership, wives should submit to their husbands. Husbands, here we go. Go all out in your love for your wives. Exactly as Christ did for the church. A love marked by giving, not getting. Christ's love makes the church whole. His words evoke her beauty. Everything he does and says is designed to bring the best of her, dressing her in dazzling white silk, radiant with holiness. And this is how husbands ought to love their wives. They're really doing themselves a favor, true, since they're already one in marriage. And this was huge. And I just really spend some time thinking about this, that, man, if we really adopted a concept of service and sacrifice in our marriages, how drastically our marriages would change from dull and mundane to hot and sexy. Because here's the deal. If you're constantly thinking about yourself, your thing, my game, how I want to do this, myself in the midst of this marriage, in the future, there will only be you.
That's right.
If you're always only thinking about you, in the future, there will only ever be you. And when you think, man, you take a step back, man, why isn't my wife or my spouse attracted to me? It's because you're thinking about yourself the entire time. There was a moment in my life when I would do things like to get my wife's attention. I'd bring her this, or I'd bring her that, or I'd vacuum, or I'd do something, or I'd do something that I felt would to get her attention. And through the process of that, I wanted to get something from it. And so a true servant heart does not say, what can I do for you to get something from you? A true servant heart says, what can I do for you without anything in return? I just want to serve you. I just want to serve you. I wrote it a lot better. I think he probably put it up there, but I wrote it down a lot better. But a servant heart is not after what can I do what can I do for you to get something for myself. It's what can I do for you, not what can I get from you. And if we can adopt this idea of, you know what, I just want to serve you. I just want to serve you. What can I do for you today? Can I get you some orange juice? Can I do something special for you? And not ever out of the intent of, you know what, I'm gonna do this because I know that I'll get rewarded for it. It's not it at all. And conversely, if I'm thinking constantly about my spouse and she's thinking constantly about me, there's never any selfishness in it. It's what can I do to serve you? It's not what can I get from you. And if we could adopt this, it would be incredible, because let's be honest, all of our fights and conflict, it all is based out of selfishness. And I know that this is almost nearly impossible to do, but is definitely something that we need to strive to do. Is you know what can I do today to honor my spouse? What can I do today, as we say with my son and as their school says, what can I do today to fill up her bucket? What can I do today to fill up her love language, which we're going to talk about next week? What can I do today to make sure that she has the best day? And conversely, what can she do? It's thinking less about you and more about them. And one of the things that I wrote down yesterday, and this is huge for really all of us, is I think so many times in the midst of this service and sacrifice, we spend so much time of our lives praying, God, change my spouse. Change my spouse, God. Change my spouse. And we need to spend less time praying that God would change your spouse and spend more time praying that God would change you, because you're a part of the issue as well. It's not just your spouse. And if we can find ourselves in those moments saying, you know what, God, change me. God, turn my heart, change my heart from my selfishness. God, make me so desperately in love with my spouse. Let my eyes be solely fixed on her. Lord, help me to see creative ways and ways that are right in front of me that I can serve my spouse, and ways that I can sacrifice to honor her, to uphold her, to esteem her, to value her. Let her through my service and my sacrifice, let her know that there is absolutely no one above her except God. And that's going to kind of take us into the next part is so the number one is just resolve conflict. Number two is sacrifice and serve. And this is huge. Number three is keep Christ in the center.
Before I talk about Christ in the center, I just want to say that in our marriage, there are a lot of times when he deserved to pray that God would fix me, because there were some major battles that I was facing, that I was going through, but he made the bigger decision, and he prayed that God would give him more love for me. And that was something that I truly did not deserve in my marriage. And I saw that played out, and I saw that works. And I saw that he fell more in love with me despite what my actions are. And he's really teaching me how to be a better wife because he's living it out. And so I just wanted to just kind of tell you guys. But the last one is, what is it? Keep Christ in the center. Okay, so when we were doing marriage counseling, which we did with our brother-in-law, Jake.
Awkward.
But basically, he showed us this picture, and he drew two dots, one here, and one here, and one here. And he got a little marker, and he said, this dot right here, this is Christ, this is you, and this is your spouse. And he said, as long as you guys are chasing after God together, you guys are going to grow closer, and that means you guys are going to come closer as one. But so if I decide that I am not going to chase God and I'm going to chase something else, we're going to drift further apart. And we've seen that in our marriage. We've seen that, like, when there's times when he's chasing after God and I haven't been because of what I was going through. We saw that we weren't close, whereas right now when we're both chasing after God, like, we're closer than we've ever been. It brings us together to one. So in order for us to become one, the only way to do that is for us to chase after God. But what I have seen is that when he would chase after God, even more so than I did, I would see that it encouraged me to do the same. So I want that to be encouragement. So if your spouse isn't doing that, if you are, it's going to encourage them to do that as well.
True. And we were talking a little bit yesterday just about how that even played out in our marriage, because I was talking to her, I was like, man, there was a very real season in our marriage when I realized, like, man, we were still in youth ministry, we were still pastoring, we were still doing that stuff, and I was really pressing in, and for her, in her particular job, she didn't have anything to do. like literally, she got paid to watch TV all day. Like she didn't have anything to do, and so she would just sit there and she'd watch Netflix all day with all these different television shows and stuff. And she, because I mean I get it. You're bored. You're sitting there for 8 hours. What are you gonna do? I mean you can only play crossword puzzles so many times. Word searches get boring after a while. I found thesis 26 times. I mean I don't know. And so I realized in that moment when there was that search on when she was watching so much television, so many different TV shows, Grey's Anatomy or anything like that, like I realized that her responses and the way that she acted and responded and even lived life out was completely different than she would have normally done it because of the influences that were there. She was basing her life out of that instead of out of the Bible and out of the Word. And so like in moments like relationally and intimately, completely different, because whether she consciously or subconsciously did that, I was put up on against who she looked up to in these television shows, and it was just like the responses were just like, seriously, what's even going on? And so, but the moment that kind of stopped, and the moment that she just said, you know what, I'm not watching these television shows anymore, I'm going to begin to pursue God. And then now it went from her going this way and me going this way to coming back together and both of us going to Christ, and everything just really it wasn't instantly, but everything began to change and everything began to shift. And it was that perception of, you know what, I need to serve and I need to make sacrifices rather than trying to selfishly get something out of this marriage for myself. And so that was huge. And some of the ways that you can do that is finding a time. I know it's tough, dude. I got kids. You guys have lives. I know it's tough, but man, finding somehow, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, this 20/20 thing that we're doing is really cool, but find some time to read together. Whether read the Bible together, read a devotional together, read the book of Mark is what we're in now. We're actually should be done with it, but if not, whatever, that's cool. But reading the book of Mark together, praying together, worshiping together in here, worshiping at home, serving together and doing outreach together, and those are just a couple of things. There's other things that you guys could that I'm sure that are there. This isn't like an exhaustive list of you have to do these couple of things, otherwise it's not going to work for you. No, there are other things that you can do as well, but these are huge key things that will always point us towards going to Christ, because it's like when you're praying together, it's awesome. Let me pray for you. What are you going through? What are you facing at work? What stresses are you facing? What is it that you want to kill your kid over? Let's pray that God would change that. And then reading together is so cool, because it's like when she's reading and I'm reading, and it's like it's so fun to hear her, oh my gosh, I have to share this with you because it's so cool. What do you think about this? And it's like it takes our dynamic of our relationship to a whole nother level, and it makes it hotter and it makes it sexier, because we're drawing closer together towards God, because God is absolutely for hot and He's absolutely for sexy marriages. That's what He designed, and that's what He created, and that's what He wants to see. And so, but everything that we've kind of been talking about here today is kind of a challenge against it. Don't deal with conflict. Don't ever do that. Don't honor your spouse. Don't respect her. Don't serve her. I mean, that's what the world has kind of said. It's all for you. This whole marriage thing is for you. It's not for a mutual to become one. No. And so that's kind of what the world and the enemy is desperately trying to get all of us to do is to go our different ways and don't pursue God. Don't do it. Read 50 Shades of Grey. It's great. Go see the movie. It's great. No. Don't see the movie. I'm going to say it right here. Don't read the book. Don't see the movie. Read the Bible. I promise you it's going to be hotter and sexier. Man, I hope that you guys got something through this. We're gonna pray. I'm past time. Next week we're actually going to be talking about bringing sexy back, and so it's going to be fun. It's just going to be cool. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it. And so again, we're going to continue just to be completely honest with our lives and just things that we've gone through, and you're going to be like, for real? And so yeah. So let's go ahead and pray.